Hello and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is February the 9th, 2023. And I hope you're all doing well and it isn't too cold where you are. It has warmed up a little bit here. So I hope all is going well for all of you. And today we are going to be doing something just a little bit different. So I hope it works out. I'm not too sure. We'll give it a try. So first I'm going to start with what I am wearing. I am not wearing anything hasn't been worn many times before on these videos. I'm sure you can look back and see this. I made this 2 winters ago, and it is made with a knit crate yarn, and it's a pattern from Hobie. I can't remember what the name of it is right now. And it was very straightforward. It was a back and forth, start at the bottom, work up, chain for the neck opening, and then go back down totally all the way across the sleeves and back down. And it does have a little bit of ribbing. I don't know if you can tell. Does have ribbing at the bottom. But I have to tell you one disappointment in this, well, two actually. But one is that this fit me just nicely, and it has since stretched out and looks baggy. So I don't know if it's the yarn I used or the stitches or whatever. My other disappointment is something I learned from doing this pattern is that when you're going straight out, you get these sleeves, great big huge sleeves, because there's no shaping to it. And the next time I made this sweater, I actually as I went out this way, I changed the stitch and I changed the hook and brought it in a bit. If I ever make it again, I'm not sure if I will, but if I ever did, I might even stop. I might just go straight up and then add a sleeve on later. Not sure about that. But what I'm thinking, and you can tell me if this would work, if anybody's done it. What I'm thinking is taking it and stitching up like a hem, make a pocket here, and put some elastic through it so that it would gather it up. Has anybody ever done that before? I've done it in sewing, but I don't know how it would work with a knitted object. So I think I would much rather this gathered sleeve than this great big huge open armhole. But anyway, I still wear it because I love the wool, I love the color, and it's comfortable. So what are my two girls wearing? Well, these are finished objects. I actually finished 2 objects this week. You saw this one close, more than half done last week, and this is the pattern Roses and Thorns. I will link it below if you are interested in making it. I definitely did not make it properly, and now I kind of regret the alteration that I made to it. This is made first. The first part starts at the point and works out. You get a triangle, like a pie-shaped piece. And then you pick up the stitches along the edge here, pick up the stitches, and then you work the reverse. Instead of the variegated being the main color and gray, the secondary color, the gray becomes the main color and the variegated becomes the secondary color. And you work it out and you decrease along this top side. So it's part of this side goes out this way, this side goes out this way, and it decreases. And I told you last week it was supposed to decrease every other row, which meant I had to do 200 rows. Well, first of all, I didn't want to do 200 rows. Second of all, I did not have enough yarn for that. I would have been okay in the variegated because I do have another skein and it didn't use a lot. But the gray probably would have taken an entire cake or more. And I had one cake that I'd already used part of over here, and I knew I wouldn't have enough, and I didn't want to make it that big. It would have been really twice as long because I decreased it every row instead of every other row, and this thing would have been really long. Now, this doesn't look weird to you, I don't think, but when I blocked it and put it on the floor, the shape is really, really weird. It's almost like a parallelogram that kind of got squished and out of shape, and so you get something that isn't symmetrical at all. It isn't the same on either side. It's the weirdest shape I've ever seen, and I can't imagine anybody would want this. So I'm draping it on Faith here so that you can see that I finished it. And I used the Mirage Sport, and that's why I talked about it last week, because I was using the Mirage Sport I wanted to talk about. And I already started, I went to the point here, but I already started to rip it out. And by the way, this does frog quite nicely. You do get caught up in it once in a while, but I can frog big sections without a problem. And one day, if I want this color to work with, or I have an idea for something else, I'm likely to frog this entire thing. Or maybe I frog one half and buy another skein of the gray and do the second half the way it was supposed to be. This is wonderful yarn, and I do not want to waste it because it's not cheap yarn. So one day I'm going to frog it and do something else with it for sure. But at the moment, I'm not terribly happy with it, but I need to let it sit on a back burner till some other time and figure out what I am going to do with it. It is too bad, but it's my own fault. I didn't totally follow the pattern. So I can get more of this yarn, this gray. Maybe I just remake the second half the way I should have. But at this point, I'm not even excited about the pattern anymore. I'll link it down below. You can check out the pattern yourself. So when I finished that, I went on to complete. I had started, and this is the Venture wrap that Hope is wearing. And I had started a few weeks back. If you recall, I said I was going to do something that I very rarely do, and that was a little bit at a time on a project and work back and forth. So once I finished that, and I was halfway through this, I decided to just keep going. I took pictures at the different, increments. They are in week 4 now. Well, I finished it, and I have the picture for next week. And this is the Venture shawl. Started here, and I'm using the minis from Bramble Ridge, which was one of the Advent calendars that I opened in December. This is the one that was based on Christmas drinks, and I can still smell lingering bits of that really strong smell. And they are from, I think it's Mission, BC, but they are in BC, Canada. So it starts with these colors. I really like these beginning colors, how nicely they fade into each other. And then we went into beiges, and I had a bit of a green fade. And then we switched over and had a section of orange and gold that went into the brown. So there is the whole shawl. It's a very simple pattern. It's basically a 6-row repeat, but you do row A, B, row A and B, and then C, D. And then you repeat that, A, B, C, D, because as you can see, there is some open work in here. Very straightforward, very simple, easy to remember. Now I'm going to, right here, put a picture of the whole thing lying on the floor so you get a look at how the whole thing looks. I'm happy with this, and I have already submitted this picture to Jackie's group, which is the Shalalalong. I enjoyed this, and it feels nice. This was nice yarn. I have not, by the way, I have not blocked it. It's not really curling, and I don't feel a need to block it. I'm really happy with the way it has turned out. And I would definitely do that shawl again. I would even consider picking one of my gradient cakes and doing that shawl, or some other minis, or 2 or 3 solids, you know, larger hanks that might make a really nice fade. This was a very straightforward pattern, and I enjoyed it. So going to put that back, and it's quite sizable. I forgot to mention that it calls for 15 hanks. Now, you know, in my advent calendars I got 24 minis, and it calls for 15, and I did bring out 15. And in the end, there was one color that really didn't fit. I took it out as a mint green, and as I got going and the size was big enough, there was another pale yellow in here, and I thought, I don't need that either. So I made it with 13 minis. So it quite easily could have been made with 12 minis, because it is a good size. So you could make, with an advent calendar, you could make 2 of these. Anyhow, that's that, and I'm happy with that. So I'm really glad I got one that I really liked. So let's put that back out of the way. And I'm going to put this back out of the way so I don't knock anything over in the next section. So today we're going to start doing the Ravelry tutorials, and I'm really hoping this works out, because I have to use my other iPad and put it up here and show you what I'm trying to show you. I know some people, they understand all this technology, and they'd probably be filming this on a computer or a laptop, and then they could bring other screens up. I have no idea how to do that, and I have a laptop that is it's a little bit older, and I don't think I could count on it to do what it would need to do, and I don't know how to do that screen in a screen thing anyway. So so what we're going to do is, I'm going to open up to Ravelry on my iPad, and I'm going to show you and sit off to the side in just a minute. Before I start, I really, really hope that most of you that are watching this and are interested in knowing how Ravelry works, if you're just watching this to see what I do, that's fine. But if you really would like to understand Ravelry, I hope that you're watching me on one item, on one device, and you have a second device, even if it's a small phone, that you can do what I am doing at the same time. It will be better. I think you will understand and learn better if you are going through the steps while I go through the steps. Or maybe you're making notes, and that's fine too. I mean, I know that a lot of you know how to catch a picture off the screen. So if you're going to do screenshots every so often, that's fine too. However, you can best understand what I'm doing. I hope this only goes about 15 minutes at most, because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. And while I'm on that, I also want to say, if you have any questions about what I did, please put them in the comments below. I think that after I do 3 sessions, I may have to go back and clarify or do a question and answer week. depending on how many questions there are and how complicated they are. If they're very simple, straightforward questions, I may be able to answer your question in the comments. But don't be afraid to put in questions, or maybe make a list and ask them later or whatever. I will try to address questions as best I can. Now remember, I'm not an expert on Ravelry. I only know what I've learned myself, and there is probably much, much more that I don't know. But I want to give you the basics so you can get some value out of using Ravelry, because I think it is an excellent tool for a number of things. Now, I know there are people that refuse to use Ravelry for some political reasons. I have no idea what those political reasons are. I do not get involved in the discussion threads about Ravelry itself. I don't get involved in any political threads or discussions or groups. I have no idea what Ravelry's stand is on anything, and I don't know what the issues are that people are not happy with. And I honestly don't care. I'm not a political person, and I'm Canadian, and I know that the issues are probably more American, from, at least I'm assuming that. I don't think Ravelry was started in the US though. I'm not sure about that. But anyhow, I'm staying out of the political stuff and saying to myself, this is a tool that is a useful tool that helps me do a number of things that I want to show you over the next few weeks. And let people think what they think. I'm just going to use this because you know what? You can go looking for patterns and get down rabbit holes and be there forever. So anyhow, I hope I'm able to help you make use of this great tool. So the first thing you have to do is log in if you're going to follow me. And I'm going to get to the side here. And once you log in, you come to a page, the front home page. And in fact, whenever you want to look up patterns, you can click on patterns up here. I don't know, I just hit something I didn't want to hit, but anyhow, let's go back. I want to be on what I call the home page. So anytime you hit patterns, you would go back to this home page. I just want to tell you a few things about this home page. First of all, over here on, I don't care about the ads. Over here, there is a section that is a spotlight on debut patterns. So these are patterns that are likely first-time patterns from some designers. And it's worthwhile to look at them. You can view all of them. I'm not going to pull them all out, but you can tell this is a highlighted. So if you hit it, you'll get more patterns. Now, this one is new. I haven't seen it before. It's called the Celtic Love Blanket. So I'll just click it on for the heck of it and see. Now you can see the pattern up close. I'm going to take my glasses off. Oh, I see it has a Celtic pattern going through it. Now, the reason why this is sometimes useful to look at, not always, but sometimes, is because if it's a debut pattern, it might be offered free for a limited time. And also, you'll see new patterns come up that maybe when you've done a search before, you know, maybe you searched hats, and now there's a new pattern, a new hat that you haven't seen before, and you don't have to go through all the hats to see it. Also over here, there's a section that's called Hot Right Now. So if you want to see what is trending at the moment, you can check out these, and they have the top 20 and whatever. It's just different places to look for patterns, okay? But mostly what you're going to do on this page is search. And you see you can search patterns, and if you're up close and reading it, it says you can search by the name. That's the name of the pattern. You can search by the designer's name. So I often go C.J. Brady in there. If you know a name of a book, you can search by anything, any keyword you want. So, for example, I love shawls, and I would put shawl in there and then hit the magnifying. Now, just before you get busy searching, look just below it. This is the important thing. Notice that it has a way to personalize it. It has both knitting and crochet, crochet or knitting. And notice that I have clicked on, because it's highlighted, I've hit crochet. So whenever I do my search, it pretty much always, sometimes it loses it and I have to go back and add it. So you want to check. But I'm only going to get crochet patterns. All right. So let's just put shawl in here because I love shawls. Hello. And I'll just hit go down here. Now see, it gives you choices here, even what kind of shawls, but I'm just going to hit shawls, crocheted shawls for the heck of it. We're not going to look at any of them. And right away it tells me there are 22,070 shawls in this section. And if we go down to the bottom, there are 460 pages of shawls. Now, I'll tell you, the last few pages probably don't have anything. They have blank pictures. They have out-of-date ones that aren't available. But I already see some shawls on this page, and I've been through the shawls that I haven't seen before. So you could click on any one of these and have a look at it. And we'll do that in a minute. But the other thing I want to show you while we are here is that, okay, I did just shawls, but maybe you want to narrow it down. So over here, you see these arrows. See the arrows in the blue bar? If you click the arrow, it brings over some options to filter this. So I can look up shawls that are in my library and favorites. I don't want to do that at the moment. I just want to look at all the shawls that Ravelry has. So we're going to skip by that. It has already clicked crochet because I put that on my main page. Then you can go down here and it has categories. Now I can't see how shawls would be in some of these categories. Shawls for pets, anyhow. But it does tell you that shawls that are considered clothing are 1,125, but shawls that are accessories is 20,000. So the bulk are what we would call accessories. I don't really care. But if you care about whether the pattern is free or not, you can click on, you want to see only free patterns. That may be the way you want to look at it. Or to be purchased online, purchased in print, Ravelry download, and so on. Okay, so if you want to look for just free, there they are. Does it have to have a photo? Yes or no? Well, I should click yes, but there aren't that many that aren't. Now, attributes. Are they, can you see? I'm hoping you have your iPad or whatever open. You can pick some of these. Is it mature content, fabric characteristics, design elements? It has a yellow box, and that tells me that there's more to choose from. So I'll just pick one, fabric characteristics. And it says, does it have baubles? Does it have cables? Does it have lace? Does it have ripple? And so on. See all these choices of actually types of stitches that are in the shawl. And so you can filter down and you can see how many there are in each category if you wanted to choose something specific. I don't want to, so we're going to get out of that. Or pattern instructions. Let's click that. Does it have a video? Does it have a chart? And so on. Now, I might hit chart because I love to have a chart, but I'm not sure that everybody, when they post here, will tell you if it has a chart, so you might miss some. Anyway, there are other choices when there's a yellow file folder. Do I care about the age it fits or gender? Not really. Now, up here, you might want to do a heavy shawl for warmth, and you could pick, okay, I want to do it in worsted, Aran, or bulky. Or if you're like me and you like the thinner weights, I might pick light fingering, or sport. And I did that this morning for the first time, and I found that to be very interesting. So I didn't have to look through everything. I could look through something the weight I wanted, maybe because I had a gradient cake that's lace weight, and I could hit that. Or is it doing it with one strand, 2 yarns, 2 strands, and so on? Or do I have a limit on the yardage? I only have so much of the yarn I'm using. I can pick sort of the amount I need to make it. And this is one I was doing this morning. I never saw this before. Do I want it in 2 colors or 3 colors or a solid color? I actually did that this morning, and I saw patterns I had never seen before. And I have come to the point where I've decided I want to start using multiple skeins, not just a one skein. Although if you have only one skein, you could put one color. Actually, you'd be better off back here and put in something like 300 to 450 yards, and you'll get one skein projects. So you can do that kind of thing. And do you want it in other sources? Like they do have patterns here that are in books and magazines and so on. Do you want it a certain hook size? There are lots of other ways to filter this, okay? I'm not going to put any filters on it. I'm just going to look at what came up without a filter, which is a lot. But I found, for example, when I put 3 skeins, I think it went down to something like 160 or 180 patterns to look at, which is a little easier to look at than 22,000. Okay, let's get this out of here. So you want sometimes to be using those filters if you have something more specific in mind. If you're just looking for a shawl, this will do it. Now, I want to tell you a little bit. I'm taking a little longer than I expected, but that's okay. It's worth it. I want to tell you a little bit of what you find on the page. So let's pick one. I've never seen this one before, so let's pick it. And it opens up to the page of the pattern. And there's some things you need to look at here. So the first thing is it has a variety of pictures of the project. Those are really pretty colors. I can tell by looking at it that it is done in one of those gradient cakes that is usually cotton or cotton acrylic blend, and they probably have, this one says she used 1,200 to 1,750 yards. Most of those cakes have 1,000, but you can buy them that are 1,200 and 1,500 and so on. So the important things, it gives you the name of the pattern, it gives you the designer, it tells you where it's been published, it tells you that it is crochet. Make sure you double check you're looking at crochet. Sometimes I get knitted things here, and I can't knit, so I want to not go too far with it. It'll tell you how much yardage you need, and it'll tell you what language it's in. It could be in a variety of languages, and you want to make sure it's available in English, because there are some that are not available in English. Now, sometimes they have quite a lengthy description. Other times it's a very short one. It says the opera shawl is a PDF crochet pattern. Chart only. She actually says it's chart only. Now that would appeal to me. I don't need all the written words. I love charts. But if you can't read a chart, you want to leave this pattern right away. chart only. It's a unique shawl consisting of 3 motifs and an ending that can be extended in 2 ways. It took about 1,200 meters of a 4-ply cotton acrylic yarn. So you want to read and see if this fits what you're looking for. Now, some other important things. If I had already seen this and put it in my favorites, it would highlight it here. I'm going to be putting this in my favorites. I like it. Also, the next important thing is price. Now, they always have it in their currency because these are people all over the world, and I don't know what currency that is, but it always translates to, can I make this bigger? So you see that? I'm thinking it's a Polish something, but they always convert it to my currency or your currency. So in Canadian dollars, this pattern costs $7.95. And if I want to buy it right away, I can hit buy it now, or I can just add it to my cart and come back later and decide if I want it or not. And I could send it as a gift to somebody else, and that's another story altogether. Now, this pattern is also is part of an ebook. So this person has bundled 5 patterns all together in an ebook. And you can see that to buy the 5 patterns, it's $15.91, which is cheaper than individually buying them. If I like more than 2 of these her patterns, I would buy the ebook. And all you have to do is click on and it'll show you the other 5 patterns. I'm not going to do that today. You can play with it yourself. A couple of other things you want to know, and then I'll finish up here. In the description down here, it may have, this pattern is free on my website. This one doesn't. But an awful lot of people that have blogs will have the pattern on their website, that if you want to be bothered with all the ads running through the pattern, they'll have a link to their website, and they'll say on their website, you can obtain this pattern ad-free on Etsy or on Ravelry. So they bring you here and you can buy it with no ads. But if you don't mind ads in the middle of it and it's written in a magazine form, then you can click and it'll be somewhere in the body here. I don't know one offhand, so I don't want to waste time looking for one, but it's pretty obvious. They'll say, buy this free, or get this free on my website, and then it'll have a highlighted link and you can go to their website. That's one thing you want to look for here. Another thing you want to look for in the body here is some people have a lot of pattern. A good example would be Tony Lipsy from TL Yarns, and she has a lot. She will have some in books like this ebook, but she may also in the body, and others do too that aren't as well known, and they will say, buy 1 pattern and you pay regular price, buy 2 patterns and get $1 off or 10% off or something, buy 3 patterns and get another. They'll have something in the body that will tell you that you can get a discount by buying more. Or if they've just put it on the site, like CJ Brady, when she does a brand new pattern and puts it on the site, she will give a coupon code that has an expiry date. It's usually less than a week. If you buy it in the first 5 days, you get it free. So you want to look for those codes. I'm not going to show you today, but I will show you maybe the last video, or if I have to do an extra, I'll do an extra. I'll show you where, if you were purchasing, there is a place to put the code to get the discount. So knowing that they give discounts for multiple purchases, you want to look at this last section. Over here, this designer will have pictures of other patterns they have done. And right at the bottom, I'll blow this up a bit, these are some other shawls she has done. including a mandala. Looks nice. Anyhow, at the bottom it says, see them all. So I'll just make this smaller. I'll click see them all. And it takes me to her page. And now I can go through and quickly see, oh, do I see some others? I don't think I've ever seen this designer before. And she has shawls, which I really like. And she has, mostly she has shawls, although this shawl has been turned into a vest. So you might see a couple of others of hers that you like, and you can put them all in the cart at the same time and then use the discount code if she has one. Not everybody has one. This person only has 5 times 3 plus 2. She has 17 patterns and she has 2 booklets, but probably some of these patterns are in those booklets. So if you buy the 5 that are in the booklet, you're getting a big discount. So that's something to know when you're on their page. The other thing to know is you look at the yarn, and over here you can find out more information about the yarn. And the other thing, I'm just going to point to it. We're not going to do it today because I have pointed this out before. But if you go into this box that says about this pattern, the name of the pattern, the author, it may have a little other, and then it'll say 7 projects. So I can click that on and I will see it doesn't have 7. They usually have the number wrong. There might be 2 others somewhere, but you can see 7 other people have done this, and I will talk about this page, how to use it, and how it's created next week. But 7 other people have done this project. Now, 7 isn't very many, but I suspect, oh yes, this pattern was published in December of 2022. So it's only been there maybe 2 months at the most. It's a new pattern. But some of them may have 30, 50, 270. I mean, they can have an awful lot in this project area. And if they have a lot, you know that it is well liked as a pattern. Also, and again, this doesn't have it, but in this section, some patterns will have ratings as to how easy the pattern was, how much they enjoyed doing the pattern, how easy it was to read. It has a rating system, but this person hasn't had their pattern there very long. And actually, I'll try to do another one. Let's go back. I'll do this one more thing because it is worth looking at. See if I can find one that I know. Oh, here's one I know. Fire and Ice. This is a big one. There are 92 projects in it. And here are overall ratings. 4.8 from 30 votes. Clarity rating is 4.6 from 18 votes. And average difficulty from 28 people. See, the difficulty is rated low. So it's an easy pattern. So that may be helpful when you're looking at a pattern too. So that's how you would start using Ravelry. Now, some of you have already used Ravelry to search patterns, and that's all you've done. But maybe you didn't know all of this. Oh, here's an example. This pattern is free on my blog, and so you would click here. And then it has much more description about this pattern. This is a pattern I've actually done. Underground Crafter is a fairly well-known designer, and she has a blog and quite a few patterns. So anyhow, that's what I wanted to show you today. I hope that I was clear enough and you could see what I was trying to show you. That is just a very beginning surface look at Ravelry. Even if that's all you ever do is use it to search patterns, it is very, very helpful, especially, you know, if you want free patterns, it's a way to do that. And by the way, there are free patterns, and they are not patterns where you have to click a link and go to a blog. Ravelry actually has some designers that will submit patterns and make them totally free. And you just have to hit download, and it immediately downloads, and all the patterns go into your library. And you know something, the more I think about it, I may have to do 4 sessions to talk about the library as well. I am going to talk about project pages next week. And then I was going to talk about community, but I think the 3rd week I'm going to do library, and then we'll see if you're enjoying this or finding it beneficial. I'll do the extra step of community. So I hope that was worthwhile. So I have one more thing I want to do because time is getting short, and I wanted to show you an acquisition, but I need to show you this first. So we're going to run out of time. I have a whip. Here is my whip, and I'm not sure what direction to go from here. First of all, this is the yarn I am using. It is a loops and thread yarn called Shimmer Shawl. I bought this, was it last winter or maybe even the year before? They were having a sale at Michael's, and so I bought 3 or 4 different colors. I only bought 1 cake of each, and let me tell you the particulars about it. It has 962 yards, 880 meters, 300 grams. It is 60% cotton, 61% cotton, 34 acrylic, and 5 polyester. You can see that it is a shimmer. Well, it calls it shimmer. And is there anything else to tell you? It says the weight is 3. Honestly, I think they call it 3 because of the fuzz and the halo, but the thread itself is not a 3. Maybe a 2. Some people might think it's even lighter than that. But anyhow, that's the yarn I picked up because I decided I wanted to take a break from all these cows, and I wanted to get one shawl done for my donation box because we will be taking some to where we donate them next week. So here is what I have done so far. Now, I am using the moss stitch. I've never done a shawl in the moss stitch, and I like the moss stitch, so I wanted to try it. And there were several to choose from. This happens to be Crystal from Bag O' Day. This is her tutorial. I'm sure all the others would be very, very similar. She was just the first one, and I like her tutorials, so I picked it. Now, this is how big it is. And I've been beginning to wonder if it's big enough. Like, will it be big enough when I'm done? Because I don't want it to be the type that goes around the neck. I want the person to be able to wear it like a typical shawl. And I was, because it's getting wider now, I was beginning to worry that maybe I don't have enough. Now, I can usually do a shawl of a little heavier weight or with a more open stitch with somewhere around 700 to 800 yards. Now, this has 962, but this is a very tight stitch, and I'm trying to decide, is this going to be big enough? If it's not going to be big enough, I had 2 ideas. I could, right now, and again a couple other times, I could interrupt this and put just 2 or 3 rows of latte cake. Put a little bit of fuzz in the middle of it. This is a bit fuzzy and very sparkly. Could I put that in? although it doesn't really go with it. Then I went looking through my stash and I found 3 balls of this, and 1 ball has 500 meters, so I've got plenty if I want the other 2 for something. And should I interrupt it and put a little bit now and then a little bit farther on and then finish it with this? This is very, very similar in that it's a little fuzzy and it has a sparkle in it. It feels almost identical, and it is, I think, the same content. Acrylic, and probably that's polyester. It's a different language. Or should I just go and see how far this goes? Maybe it'll be big enough. And if I need a wee bit more, just put some of this on with a bit of a lacy stitch, a border stitch on the end. I'm kind of leaning towards forget the latte. I don't know whether to put a little in now and more later, or whether just go with the flow with this, and then if I need to, put a little more on the bottom. I fancy. I'm sort of leaning that way, but I'd like to hear your opinions. Okay? Like to hear your opinions on this. All right, so that's it for this week. I am going to finish this week, so I will have this one finished object to show you. I may only be showing you a picture because I might be taking this to where it's going before I videotape next week. So you'll know what I decided in the end. And then, of course, we're going to continue on with our Ravelry tutorial. And I noticed that it's going to take easily 20 minutes or more. And hopefully next week we'll get an acquisition, maybe even 2 acquisitions, since we haven't had any in a while, and I have this table full of acquisitions to show you. So until next week, happy hooking.